you are invited to a live online Satsang with Maharishikaa this Sunday. To know more, click the link in the description below.
Namaskar, Maya.
Namaskar.
With advance of AI, where there are self-driving cars all over the place, and these robots have intelligence or conscience, where they are far better than humans. Do you think in future is it possible to recreate something similar to the Antaratman or source with the advance of technology?
I don't feel that it is something which is the work of technology to do. Because technology is operating in a material world, a complex material world. Whereas the Antaratman or the soul is a single atom. The soul is an atom. It's a single atom and it is an energetic field around that atom. So it does not require to be replicated in the material world because it's already existing. I mean, you can pluck it and put it somewhere. Maybe the human being in the far future will learn how to isolate an Atma and connect it with something mechanical. That's a possibility. The thing is that human beings can already isolate Atmas. There are lots of shamans and people like that. Their work is to isolate a spirit and make that spirit work for them. And the spirit is an Atma, it's a soul. So that work of isolating the soul has already been undertaken. Now it would be simply of materially imprisoning it in a way, which there's a high possibility will be done in the future. Whether it's the right thing to do or not is another question. But shamans they have isolated spirits, they've kept them in bottles, they've done all kinds of things. I mean, the genies, for example, are spirits actually, you know.
What are the repercussions when such a soul is imprisoned, or what happens in that case?
Well, you would have noticed that most shamans die quite young. In fact, I knew one who died recently, very young actually, because they are messing with a world which is not their own. So they actually harness the disembodied beings or spirits to do works for them. And at one point, they get attacked because of that. Because those beings, those spirits which they use are incapable of defending themselves. So at one point, when a time comes when these spirits become strong also, because there's also an increase in the energetic strength, they attack and then that's it. So it's not really a good idea to imprison and harness the energies of a disembodied being, you know. One doesn't have the right to do that actually. It's black magic and it's dangerous and it just attracts misery and it attracts death finally, much earlier than...
In context of that, Maya, so there are these people, systems are open and they possess deities or different disembodied beings. They predict future or various things like that. Who pays the price is basically one who is in body. Is that correct?
When a spirit possesses a human being and starts to speak through that human being or act through that human being, who pays the price in that situation? It is rarely a spirit who does it on its own. It is always done by somebody else, a living human being who actually uses that spirit to make something happen. A spirit generally cannot, I mean, there may be rare exceptions, but it cannot just go dive into a human body and start. It is because somewhere a shaman is sitting that has made that happen. So what happens is, and this is actually a common practice, there will be a shaman. That shaman knows how to harness a spirit, imprison it in a way, actually to enslave it. That's the real word. So what they do is that they choose a person whose body is open, and then they enslave the spirit. They actually drop that spirit into somebody, and that person starts to behave very strange and speak in tongues and things like that. And then the shaman is called in order to help that situation. So they create those situations in order to live and pay their bills, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. And there are many cases like this, and it happens all over the world. It's not just like in one place or something. It happens in Africa, it happens in South America, and it happens in India, it happens in Europe. There are lots and lots of cases of people who speak in tongues. They don't know what to do, then they look for somebody, and it generally happens around such people. A spirit will not just go and enter into there is always a human element involved. Because a disembodied being, a spirit, is on its way out of the planet. It's finished its work here and it just is going. It does not come and start to enter into things. And people always say, oh, that soul, it's still hanging on and holding on to the family or this or that. It is very rarely like that. It's mostly somebody around who's playing a little bit. There are lots of people who do that because it's not such a difficult siddhi to actually learn how to harness spirits, but it's just dangerous business, and that's why no student of mine is permitted to do those things. There have been, Babas who have come to me, and I always advise them to just leave it. Go to the spirit which is within yourself, because that is the one you are meant to deal with. You're not meant to deal with disembodied beings and other people's spirits and all of that stuff. Even those what are those called? Those ones that whisper?
Karna Pishachinis.
Karna Pishachinis are actually spirits that whisper in the ear, no? But who is this? Why would a spirit come and unnecessarily start whispering in your ear? It has other things to do. It does that because it's a human being that has made it happen. There's a human being sitting there who wants that spirit to come and whisper in the ear because they make money like that. Or either they get money, or they get recognition, or they get interpersonal relationships. One of the three things they'll get. So they do that. Otherwise, spirits don't do that. They say, oh, that house is haunted. There's a spirit living there. The spirit will not harm anybody. It is a human being that is behind that action. That is why if you are absolutely not afraid of something like that, it can't have an impact. Because that shaman works with the fear of people. Nothing can happen because there's no fear with which that spirit engages them.
You are invited to a live online satsang with Maharishikaa this Sunday. To know more, click the link in the description below.